Sometimes justice comes with a price, and in this episode, that price hits Detective Hudson where it hurts the most. In Hudson and Rex Season 8 Episode 4, the case isn't just another mystery to solve. It's a mirror that forces Hudson to face his own heart, his fears, and the cost of wearing the badge. Rex can feel it, the tension, the heartbreak, the silence between every breath. This isn't just about catching a criminal. It's about holding onto the pieces of yourself when the world starts to crumble. The episode begins with a sense of calm that doesn't last long. A quiet morning in St. John's turns into a storm of emotions when a body is found near the docks. The crime scene feels different this time, colder, heavier, almost personal. Hudson arrives with Rex by his side, but something in his eyes says he already knows this case will be hard. The victim isn't a stranger. It's someone who once crossed paths with him, someone from a case he thought was long closed. That single connection lights the fuse for everything that follows. From the start, the pacing pulls you in. Every clue feels like a ghost from Hudson's past, whispering questions he doesn't want to answer. Rex sniffs around, leading Hudson to small but powerful hints, a torn photograph, a familiar scent, a hidden message that seems to point back to one of Hudson's old informants. The episode doesn't rush. It builds a steady rhythm that makes you lean in closer with every scene. What makes this episode truly stand out is how it blends tension with emotion. You can sense Hudson's internal struggle without anyone saying a word. The way he looks at the evidence, the hesitation before questioning a suspect, it's all there. His professionalism is still intact, but his heart isn't untouched. There's a quiet storm brewing inside him, and it's not just about the case. It's about guilt, memories, and the fear that maybe, just maybe, he failed someone who needed him most. Rex's presence adds a layer of warmth and understanding that words could never express. Every look, every reaction from the dog feels meaningful. It's as if Rex can sense the emotional weight Hudson carries, staying close to ground him when the investigation begins to reopen old wounds. Their bond is the silent backbone of this story, one man and his loyal partner facing the echoes of their past. The writers use small moments to show the emotional cracks forming beneath Hudson's calm surface. A brief flashback of the old case. A few lines of dialogue that reveal regret. The camera lingers just long enough on Hudson's face to let viewers feel what he won't say out loud. There's a beautiful mix of human vulnerability and detective precision, something that makes this episode feel more personal than procedural. As the investigation unfolds, Hudson's sense of duty starts to clash with his emotions. Each lead pulls him closer to the truth, but also closer to a painful realization. The case isn't just about justice anymore. It's about redemption. The kind that doesn't come from solving crimes, but from facing what you've been running from. That's the true core of this episode. By the end of the first act, the story has already planted deep emotional roots. You're not just watching a detective and his dog solve a mystery, you're watching a man wrestle with his conscience. The tone is somber, the pacing deliberate, and the emotional undercurrent powerful. It's the kind of storytelling that reminds you why Hudson and Rex isn't just another crime show. It's a story about loyalty, forgiveness, and the invisible scars that come with wearing the badge. As the investigation deepens, the line between past and present begins to blur for Hudson. Every clue they uncover feels like a whisper from years ago, a reminder of choices he made or didn't make. The episode does something brilliant here. It doesn't just show us a case being solved. It shows us a man slowly unraveling the truth about himself. Hudson's calm, methodical approach starts to crack. He's not losing focus. He's confronting ghosts that never really left. When Hudson and Rex follow a new lead to an abandoned warehouse, the air feels thick with memory. The lighting is dim, cold, echoing the emptiness inside Hudson's chest. There's something poetic about how the scene unfolds. As Rex sniffs through the debris, Hudson's eyes catch traces of the past, graffiti marks, an old photograph half buried under dust, a symbol that links back to a case file from years before. It's not just a crime scene. It's a time capsule of regret, The dialogue in this part of the episode carries emotional weight without ever turning melodramatic. When Joe Donovan checks in with Hudson over the phone, there's a quiet concern in his voice. He knows Hudson well enough to hear the tension behind his short replies. "You okay, Charlie?" Joe asks. There's a long pause. Hudson's eyes shift to Rex before he answers, "Yeah, just." Feels familiar. That single line speaks volumes. It's the kind of subtle writing that gives the show its depth, where silence tells a story louder than words ever could. The emotional centerpiece of this section comes when Hudson revisits an old informant, someone he once trusted but hasn't seen in years. Their reunion is uneasy, full of things left unsaid. The informant, older now, carries a mix of fear and guilt. "You should have let it go, Hudson," he says, voice trembling. But Hudson can't. He's driven not just by duty, but by the ache of unfinished business. The informant's cryptic warning adds another layer of mystery. This isn't just about a murder. It's about a cover-up that reaches back into Hudson's past cases. Rex's instincts guide them toward a hidden stash behind a false wall, revealing items connected to both the current crime and the old case, evidence Hudson once thought was destroyed. The discovery hits him hard. You can see the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. The camera lingers on Hudson's face as realization sinks in. The past didn't just come back. It never truly left. One of the most powerful scenes in this section shows Hudson alone in his car at night, parked near the docks. Rain falls against the windshield, blurring the city lights. Rex sits quietly beside him. There are no words, just the sound of rain, breathing, and distant waves. It's one of those quiet, human moments that Hudson and Rex does so well, a man and his dog, both processing a truth too heavy to speak aloud. Hudson's reflection in the glass looks like a man divided between duty and pain. You can almost hear the thoughts he's too afraid to say. Did I miss something? Did someone pay the price for my mistakes? What makes this section unforgettable is how the writing balances emotional vulnerability with the forward drive of the mystery. Every clue deepens both the case and Hudson's character. The pacing remains tense but never rushed. Each scene feels deliberate, giving viewers time to absorb every emotional beat. Even the soundtrack mirrors Hudson's inner world, low, haunting piano notes that fade into silence whenever he's left alone with his thoughts. By the end of this segment, Hudson is no longer just chasing a killer. He's chasing redemption. The case has become personal in ways he never expected. He knows now that solving it won't just mean justice for the victim. It might mean forgiveness for himself. And as Rex rests his head on Hudson's arm, there's a sense of unspoken understanding between them. The bond they share, wordless, loyal, pure, becomes the anchor that keeps Hudson from losing himself entirely. The section closes on a powerful visual. Hudson walking away from the docks, rain still falling, Rex at his side. The light from the police car flashes across their faces, blue, red, like the pulse of a world that never stops demanding answers. Hudson's voice in the final moments says it all. You can't bury the past. It always finds its way back. It's haunting, honest, and sets the stage for what's coming next, a truth that will test not only his sense of justice, but the very core of who he is. As the night stretches into dawn, the case begins to twist in ways no one expected. The evidence uncovered in the warehouse becomes the thread that unravels a much deeper story, one buried beneath layers of deception, silence, and guilt. Hudson knows the path ahead won't be easy. Every instinct in him screams that the truth he's about to uncover won't bring comfort, only pain. But he moves forward anyway, because that's who he is, a man who doesn't run from the dark, even when it comes for him. The episode's tension shifts from mystery to moral conflict. Hudson's badge, once a symbol of justice, starts to feel heavier with every passing scene. He meets with Sarah at the precinct lab, where she reveals new forensic details that link the current victim to an internal police report from years ago, a case that Hudson once worked on but was forced to drop. The implications are clear. Someone within the department may have buried evidence, and Hudson might have unknowingly helped them do it. That realization cuts deep. You can see it in his eyes, the shock, the betrayal, and the creeping doubt about everything he once believed in. Rex senses Hudson's unease and stays closer than usual. There's a quiet moment in the hallway, no words, just Rex pressing his head gently against Hudson's hand, grounding him back to the present. It's a powerful reminder of their bond, that even when the world feels uncertain, trust still exists between them. That simple gesture carries more emotion than any line of dialogue could. As Hudson digs deeper, he starts piecing together the connection between the old case and the new murder. He visits the family of the victim, a woman named Marissa who had tried for years to expose corruption linked to a construction project that went wrong. Her husband's face carries the kind of grief that turns into anger over time. She told the truth, he says bitterly, and it cost her everything. Those words echo in Hudson's mind long after he leaves. The guilt gnaws at him. Did he play a part in silencing that truth all those years ago? The writing in this section shines through its emotional honesty. Hudson isn't portrayed as a flawless hero. He's human, flawed, and conflicted. There's a moment in his office where he sits alone, files spread out in front of him, the walls closing in with memories. The lighting is low, the music subdued. He reads old notes written in his own handwriting, reminders of a younger, more idealistic version of himself. You can almost hear his thoughts. Was I blind, or did I choose not to see? Joe enters the scene, carrying the wisdom of years on the force. Their conversation feels like two sides of the same coin experience meeting conscience. You did what you had to do back then, Joe says softly. Hudson's reply is immediate and heavy. Doing what we have to do doesn't always make it right. That single exchange defines the heart of this episode, the battle between duty and morality. Between protecting the system and protecting what's right. Meanwhile, the case takes a sharp turn when Jesse uncovers encrypted files linking the victim's research to a high-ranking official still serving on the force. It's a discovery that changes everything. Hudson realizes that solving this case means going against his own department, against the very people he's sworn to work with. The emotional stakes skyrocket. The camera follows him as he walks down the precinct corridor, his expression unreadable, the weight of choice heavy on his shoulders. One of the most gripping sequences unfolds when Hudson decides to confront the officer involved. It's not a loud confrontation, it's quiet, cold, and full of tension. The officer tries to justify his actions with words like procedure and orders, but Hudson sees through it. His voice is steady but sharp. You call it procedure. I call it betrayal. The silence that follows hits harder than any outburst could. It's the moment where Hudson truly understands that justice sometimes means standing alone. Through it all, Rex remains the silent witness, loyal, steady, unyielding. The camera often cuts to his eyes, as if he can see the moral storm raging inside Hudson. The relationship between man and dog becomes symbolic here. Rex represents the purity of instinct, the unwavering sense of right and wrong that Hudson is struggling to reclaim. As the episode nears its climax, Hudson gathers his team in the briefing room. The tension is thick, the stakes clear. We do this by the book, he says, his voice calm but burning with resolve. No shortcuts, no deals, no silence. It's not just a line, it's a declaration of who he chooses to be. Even when the truth threatens to destroy him. By the end of this section, Hudson isn't the same man we saw at the beginning. The case has peeled back every layer of his armor, forcing him to face not only the corruption in front of him, but also the compromises within himself. As he looks out the window of the precinct, the city lights reflect in his eyes, flickering, uncertain, yet full of determination. Rex sits beside him, alert and loyal as ever. Together, they're ready to face whatever comes next. The final words of this section linger long after the scene fades. Justice doesn't always wear a badge. Sometimes, it just looks you in the mirror. The storm that's been building finally breaks. Every secret, every silent glance, every buried emotion comes crashing to the surface. Hudson stands on the edge of truth, the kind that doesn't just change a case, but changes a person. He's uncovered the evidence, faced the lies, and now he must decide what to do with it. The truth is out there, heavy as the badge he wears, and what he does next will define not only his career but his conscience. The episode begins its final act with a tense stillness. The precinct feels colder, emptier, as if the walls themselves are holding their breath. Hudson moves through the corridors with quiet determination, the case file clutched in his hand. Inside it lies proof, a report signed and sealed by people he once trusted, showing how the department buried the truth to protect their own. The murder, the cover-up, the years of silence, it all ties back to that single act of betrayal. It's the kind of truth that could destroy reputations, but also set things right. Rex walks beside him, steady and focused, his ears twitching as if sensing the weight of what's coming. The camera lingers on Hudson's expression. Not anger, not fear, but something deeper, resolve. He knows the cost of doing the right thing, and he's willing to pay it. There's something haunting about the quiet in these moments. The show doesn't need loud music or dramatic dialogue. The silence speaks for itself. It's the silence of a man walking toward justice, even if it means walking alone. Hudson calls a meeting with Joe, Sarah, and Jesse. The atmosphere is tense. They know what's at stake. Going public with this evidence means putting their careers, and possibly their safety, on the line. Sarah's voice trembles slightly as she asks, "Charlie, are you sure about this?" Hudson doesn't hesitate. "If we stay silent, we're no better than them." The way he says it, calm but unwavering, carries all the weight of his journey. It's not just about solving a case anymore, it's about reclaiming his integrity. The confrontation scene that follows is one of the most powerful in the series. Hudson faces the senior officer behind the cover-up, a man who once mentored him. Their exchange is calm, but every word burns. The officer tries to appeal to reason, to the old idea that loyalty to the badge comes first. "You think you're doing the right thing, but you're tearing down everything we built," he says. Hudson's reply cuts like glass. "Then maybe what we built wasn't worth saving." That's the moment where everything shifts. Hudson chooses truth over comfort, morality over loyalty. Rex's presence adds emotional gravity to the confrontation. He growls softly when the officer tries to leave, a subtle reminder that no one escapes accountability here. It's symbolic. Rex, pure instinct and loyalty, standing guard over justice itself. The look Hudson gives him says it all. They've come too far to turn back now. When the truth finally comes out, it's not through a grand reveal, but through quiet courage. Hudson submits the evidence to the press, knowing full well it will cause waves. The aftermath unfolds in silence. The hum of the city outside, the low buzz of phones ringing, the sound of justice catching up. There's a sense of closure, but not comfort. Hudson doesn't celebrate. He just breathes. Because sometimes doing the right thing doesn't feel victorious. It just feels necessary. Later that evening, Hudson walks along the shoreline where the episode began. The wind is strong, the water restless. Rex runs ahead, free and alive, as if the darkness of the case has finally lifted. Hudson watches him for a moment, a faint smile breaking through the exhaustion. He kneels beside Rex, resting a hand on his fur. "We did what we had to, partner," he says quietly. "Even when it hurt." It's a line that sums up everything the episode has been building toward. That true justice demands both courage and compassion. The cinematography in this final stretch is breathtaking. The camera pulls back slowly, showing Hudson and Rex framed against the wide Atlantic horizon. The music swells, soft piano notes mingling with the sound of waves. The sun begins to break through the clouds, painting the water gold. It's not a happy ending, but it's an honest one. Hudson hasn't escaped the weight of truth, he's learned to carry it. And Rex, ever faithful, walks beside him as a symbol of loyalty, purity, and the instinct to do what's right even when the path is hard. The episode closes with Hudson back at the precinct, watching as new officers begin their shift. The cycle continues, new faces, new cases, new stories. But something has changed. The silence in the halls feels different now, lighter, freer. Hudson removes his badge for a moment, looking at it in his hand. It's no longer just a symbol of authority. It's a reminder of responsibility. He pins it back on his jacket, turns to Rex, and says, "Let's get back to work." The screen fades to black on those words, leaving viewers with a single lingering thought. Justice isn't about being perfect. It's about being brave enough to face the truth, no matter how much it hurts. And that's what makes Hudson and Rex Season 8 episode for one of the most powerful stories of the series, not because it solved a crime, but because it reminded us that even heroes bleed. And even the strongest hearts can break in the name of doing what's right.